Downsizing. Downsizing. The government's downsizing. Corporations are downsizing. Heck, even the Decepticons are downsizing. My buddy here was a lot bigger. Is this channel the only thing that's not downsizing? Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here, and we want to welcome you all to our new Legacy Month, and we're going to kick it off with the latest core class figure, Bombburst. Now of course, Bombburst here is a Generation 1 figure. He was one of the early Pretender figures. Here was his robot mode from the Generation 1 time. And to go with it, his Pretender shell. Guess we better stand him over here for a moment. Put the shell there so you can see both of them in comparison to each other. In the Generation 1 era, Bombburst was functioned as a predator. And they wrote him out in his tech spec bio to be something like a vampire bat. So they really riddled him up with a lot of horror movie cliches. How he'd like to snatch up his victims one at a time, drain them of their energon, and then leave their bodies hanging or laying around for the others to find. So they really laid it on thick for him back in those days. But the only other media that really featured Bombburst was the anime series Super God Master Force. So that would be the only other place that you could actually see Bombburst in action. And I certainly don't recommend the very poor original English dub, where they did a lot of swearing. But if you want to listen to a very poor dub, definitely try to seek it out. But I would recommend see it in its original subtitled form, or with a proper dubbing. As you can see, a fair amount of the design implements did carry over, because our little friend here does carry an axe like his larger brethren, and his guns attached to his arms, just like they do on the robot. So it is nice to see that they did carry over a lot of the implements used on the original toy. So now we'll take a look at his accessories. We'll start with his axe. And I just dropped it on the floor. So I'll reach around here with my feet. There we go. There's the axe. And it is sort of shaped similar to the Generation 1 axe. But as you can see, considerably smaller. To deal with the fact that our guy here is a core class. And then next up, you have the guns. There's a right gun and a left gun, so... And the biggest way you can notice that is on the back side of the guns. They feature bat wings. And these are probably meant to invoke the idea of the shoulder pads on the Pretender shell. So that's the one gun, and of course, here's the other one. On both sides, so you can get a good look at it. And then now we'll take a look here at Bombburst and his articulation. His head can be turned from side to side, and it does not look up and down at all. You would almost think that you could open up his mouth a bit more, but no, his mouth doesn't open or close. His arms reach out to the side about so far, and his arms can rotate at the shoulder all the way. You can bend his arm at the elbow 90 degrees, and his elbow has a swivel in it as well, being on a ball joint, so he does have something of the G.I. Joe battle grip. He can be twisted at his hips, so Bomb Burst does have some dance moves. You can spread his legs apart into almost a full splits. He has a very minor thigh cut, but it only goes outward, really. It doesn't go inward that much at all. You can raise his leg at the hip about 90 degrees, and you can bend his leg at the knee 90 degrees. He also has some ankle articulation as well, so it allows you to move his feet back and forth. So all in all, he does have pretty good articulation for core class figure. Now if only he could keep his balance. There we go. Now, if you want to do some weapon storage on Bomb Burst, it's relatively easy. You would come back here and you would pivot back the cockpit on his backpack. And his axe can be stored in here. It stores somewhat loosely due to the fact that some of the other parts get in the way. So you kind of get it in there and try to close it up so it kind of wedges it in place a bit. And then, of course, you attach onto the posts, protruding outward. You would attach the guns. Yeah, I saw the axe fell. We'll pick it up in a moment. So one downside, the axe really doesn't stow very well. Get the axe picked up and put it back in. And then there we go. He's got his weapons stowed away. And safely ready for next time. Now, of course, to transform him, we got to take his axe away. And you would reattach the guns to his arms so that he has his guns ready. But you will start by rotating them so that the gun barrels are now at his shoulders. And we're going to come around here to his backside. You'll take the back piece here, this cockpit, you're going to fold it up, and it goes up and over his head, like so. Then we turn him around. We're going to move his arms a bit so that we can twist him around at the hip. And that's when you will close up his feet. Like that. Then you will bend them at the knee. Like so. And then you'll slide them up at the hip. You can see right here on the back of his knees there's a little bit of plastic protruding. Those will line up with the holes at the bottom of his chest. So you line those up and press him in to hold his legs in place. Just exactly like that. And then, of course, while you got him this way, They also recommend that you take his axe and you attach it in here in his cockpit. The lower blade here is supposed to attach to that square hole inside. It's a tricky fit. Whoa. Hold on a moment, folks. Okay, after a small bit of effort, it basically requires you get the large blade to go into a spot behind it, and then you lower the smaller blade into its hole as well. It takes a little work, but once it's in there, it is secured good. And then Bomb Burst here is in his alternate mode of a hover jet. And if you're holding him properly in your hand, he will swoosh pretty good. Which is what you want out of a good airplane toy. And of course, for comparison's sake, here is his Generation 1 version, which is a lot simpler of a toy due to the fact that the robot had to be made to not only transform into something, it had to fit inside the shell, too. Common problem with the old Pretenders. So now we get down to my thoughts. And like with Iguanus, I do like what they've done with Bomb Burst by bringing him back, not only bringing him back into the foray, but also by coming up with a new way to use him. I do enjoy, to a degree, the hybridizing of the Pretender shell and the robot. Since while the Pretender shells did have some uses back in the day, they were kind of a silly gimmick. And in a lot of cases, many of them just really didn't fit in very well with the Transformer universe, no matter how they tried to write it. But this way it also gives them a rather unique look, which was something many of the Pretender robots were missing back in the day. And at least everything else about the toy does pay some homage to the original. If there's any real complaint with Bomb Burst here, it is the fact that the axe does tend to get lost very easily if you're not careful. So make sure he's holding on to it very tightly. And at any rate, that concludes my review of the Legacy version of Bomb Burst. I hope you all enjoyed it. And please do remember that if you like the content we feature here on this channel, please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. This is Sparkster1701 saying I will catch you all later.